Shalom, y'all, and welcome to the Light of the Scroll. I am Jennifer, your host, and first and foremost, I do want to apologize as if you are in my Facebook group, I did post that I would have a guest speaker this week, but unfortunately, they were not able to make it work. So I think what I'm going to talk about today, I think it's all in Yah's plan, God's plan, why this is coming, why I didn't have a guest speaker. Because all this week on my heart, I have been thinking about the hurricane survivors of Helene. And as I'm speaking now, and it's probably over now, I think, but Hurricane Milton has gone through Florida. So with North Carolina and Tennessee, it has been on my heart. I wish I could help those people. Steve and I are not in a position where we can go do that right now. We have our animals. And of course, we have, there's time off of my full-time job that I'm not able to take off right now. We have Sukkot coming up and I already have that planned to take off. So some point I will be able to go help Grindstone Ministries. And going into that, I would like to talk about Grindstone Ministries because my last episode was talking about loving thy neighbor. And I kind of talked about how we can do that. Well, here's a big way on how you can love thy neighbor. Our neighbors are not just the people who live right next door to us or who live on our block or, in my case, who are a football field away or more. Neighbors could be someone who lives 500, 600, 700 miles away. And so right now, all Steve and I can do, and I say it's all we can do, but it's not all we can do because it does a lot. So Bear Independent, if you watched How We Got Here, or if you listened to the How We Got Here episode, I talk about Bear and how Bear planted this, how Yah used Bear to plant the seeds in us and brought us to where we are today. Well, he has a couple of ministries, and one of them is Grindstone Ministries. They are a disaster relief ministry, and this is their 47th disaster deployment, which is really sad in actuality. But what Bear does, they are 501c3, but they do not get any funds at all whatsoever from the government. So when people sign up and volunteer for FEMA is actually, the volunteers are not getting paid or whatever. I don't know how that exactly works, whether they're paid or not paid. But either way, FEMA then says, well, we had volunteers here in this disaster and they, say, just to throw out number, we paid, we would have paid them $10, $12, $20 an hour. And so FEMA's going to get that money back from the government. This is not Bear. This is not Grindstone Ministries. Grindstone Ministries is 100% funded by little old me and little old you, just regular people. They don't apply for any grants. They don't apply for any funding whatsoever from the government. None of their money is from the government at all whatsoever, which I love. And you can also find Grindstone Ministries on Facebook, YouTube, and see what's going on. See the boots on the ground on what's going on, what they are doing, and where your money is going to. So right now, you can go to grindstoneministries.com and you can sign up to volunteer. Right now, they're not taking any volunteers until like October 14th because they have enough. You have to get pre-approved in order to be a volunteer because they don't want 500 people showing up in case they don't need all 500 people. So it's pretty strategic. So you can go on to grindstoneministries.com to volunteer. And I know I have a little tiny podcast and it doesn't go really anywhere right now, but I pray that y'all just share this because people need help. And if you are not able, like Steve and I, to actually physically go, they also have an Amazon wish list. And that Amazon wish list has sold out multiple times since they started the deployment a week and a half ago. And this week it's just been super on my heart, like really, really on my heart. I wish I could go. And some of their videos that they have been posting, they'll make a statement and they'll say, this is loving thy neighbor. This is loving thy neighbor. And I'm just like, wow, because that episode that I did last week obviously was before Helene. Okay, so yeah, so they've been deployed for about a week, because it's been a week since Helene, right? I'm starting to lose track of my days, y'all. Anyways, so I posted that episode, and I think that was when I posted that episode, I think that was a day or two after Helene hit. When I recorded that episode of Love Thy Neighbor, that was actually recorded 5 days prior to that. So we didn't even know that North Carolina and Tennessee was going to get hit this hard. They weren't even supposed to get hit this hard. They were supposed to get some rain, and they ended up getting, I mean, I'm sure you've all seen it. They got a whole bunch of rain, and it caused a huge mess, and just it's terrible. It's terrible. Like I am so sad for these people. So Grindstone, anyways, so when Grindstone went, they've updated every time they've put up their Amazon wish list, everything has sold out. And then, of course, there's different needs that they need, on a daily basis, or there's more items that because some of these items are giving out or using. Some of them, some items are disposable items. So they needed some more. So if you go onto the Amazon wish list and you see that everything is sold out, check back tomorrow or the next day. And see what there is. And there's items there that are a decently high dollar item, or there's items that are really super cheap. But you know what? It helps. It's anything and everything helps, and it's helping people. And so it's been on my heart that I need to just get this out with Grindstone, even if it's just one person who has no idea who Grindstone is, but they are able to go onto their Amazon wish list and buy a box of gloves. Then that's one more person that was able to help, because Grindstone is absolutely amazing. And if you see anywhere where Grindstone is, you're donating to, like if I were to ask you for money for Grindstone, nope, go to grindstoneministries.com. Do not donate to somebody else who's saying, unless it's like Sanctified Supply Co. and they have a t-shirt that they're selling, because 10% of their profit goes to Grindstone Ministries. And then they also have shirts that are exclusive for Grindstone Ministries, and all those profits, I believe, go to Grindstone. But I just find it how I think Abba orchestrated again. It was not time for me to interview this person, because I needed to talk about something else. And so I've been kind of struggling on like, what do I touch on this week? Well, what I touch on this week is what's been on my heart. And that's how all of my episodes work, is what's on my heart. Yeshua said to love thy neighbor. And that is just exactly what we need to be doing. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a neighbor that's right next door or somebody who's 500 to 700 miles away. Grindstone is out of Oklahoma, and they typically, when they started the ministry, I believe around 2020, it was either right about the time Steve and I started following Bear when he started Grindstone, or it was shortly after that. I can't really remember. So I want to say maybe about 2020, they officially started the ministry. And what they tend to do, what they love to do, is they like to find somebody who didn't know how they were going to get through last week, and all of a sudden today they have nothing. So somebody who struggles paycheck to paycheck and is just trying to get by, and now they've lost everything. So even if you have homeowners insurance, if a tornado were to come through my house right now and demolish everything, I still have to pay the contractors to clean up the debris in order to build again. So that money that comes from the insurance, part of that has to go to pay for cleanup. And cleanup is expensive. And when it's something like a storm like that, people are snakes. They just it's expensive. So what Bear does is they find people that don't know what they're gonna do. Last week they didn't know how they were gonna pay their water bill or get food on the table or just struggling, and now this week they have absolutely nothing. So they like to find those people and clean up the property for free, so that way the money that comes from the insurance company doesn't have to go to cleanup. It can go all towards what they need. So, which is amazing. And I love that. I love everything about Grindstone Ministries, not only because Abba used Bear to bring Steve and I where we are today, but because of what they do. And I would love, love, love to go help them one day. And one day we will. And it won't be the best day, because there's going to be people that are going to be hurting because of the situation that they're in. But those are the people that we need to be helping. And we don't have to necessarily just help somebody that, a tornado or a hurricane came through and that's the only people we need to help. Steve and I had a voucher program here up until recently. One of my friends, she had a children's clothing store, and Steve and I nobody knew who we were, but it was called Break the Chain Ministries. And I mean, we still have it. We just don't do much with it right now because of the fact that she closed down her thrift store because of some health issues with some of her family members. So she wasn't able to do that because she had a full-time job and the thrift store. But we had a $50 voucher that anybody could come in and get $50 worth of clothing and shoes for their children if they needed it. People who are down and out, they don't know how they're going to get through this week. But if they can get some, extra clothes for their kids for school, because we know kids grow like a weed, right? So we did that and we loved it. And then there was times that people would message her and it was like negative 30 degrees one weekend, and a family had just spent all of their money on heaters because it was either, do we get food or do we make sure we're warm enough? Because the house that they were renting was so drafty and they had to consolidate into the living room, but it was still cold. So they had to go buy like 2 or 3 space heaters, and they had to determine what were they going to do? Were they going to eat or were they going to stay warm? So we went and got them a 2 weeks worth of groceries so that they didn't have to worry about it. Because even though it's not, obviously that's not an ideal place to live and they're renting and they can move, but not when it's negative 30 degrees outside. And they had just moved in there in September, so they didn't know how drafty this place was going to be in the wintertime. So sometimes people, I think, are really cool when somebody comes up with a situation like that. There's people that could say, well, you're the one who moved in there. Well, they had no idea. The house is just fine in the summertime. But when it's negative 30 degrees, wow, that's a temperature difference. We need to be mindful about our thoughts towards somebody's situations. What if that was you in that situation? Oh, that would never be me in that situation. Well, in all honesty, if you read if you listen to my very first episodes, that used to be me. I used to be in that situation, but I was able to overcome that. Unbeknownst to me, with the help of the Father, I was able to overcome that. And I have people who I used to hang out with. Everybody grows and matures. But I've had some people say that I have forgotten where I came from because there's things that I don't do or I don't think the same way anymore, but I haven't forgotten where I came from because I want to help people break their chains of anything. And with Yeshua, we can do that. But in the meantime, what can we do to help our neighbors? My neighbor next door, he is allowing us to use his pasture. What does he want in return for it? We offered him money, but nope, he just wants eggs. And when we take some of our sheep to the meat market or the meat locker, he wants some meat. Awesome. Praise Yah. Absolutely. And what's really great about that is that we have to text him and say, yo, do you need any eggs? He doesn't always ask for it, but we have to make sure that we ask for it because that was the deal. But at the same time, I love it. I'm so thankful that we are able to use 2 acres and just pay for it in meat and eggs. That's praise Yah. So kind of going on a little tangent off of that there. I do apologize about that. But so Grindstone Ministries, grindstoneministries.com. If you feel like you want to help with any hurricane or disaster relief to help people, to me, that is the best nonprofit out there to assist with. And if you haven't thought about helping those people, maybe you will now. I've been looking around at people almost all week and thinking, here I am wanting to go to this area and to go help these people. And some of these people that I've been looking at in public, it's like they have no care in the world. And they may have a care in the world, but this is where my thought goes, and it's not necessarily okay. But it's like these people who just had this huge storm go through, they've lost everything. A lot of people even lost loved ones, and they can't find them. I would love to get a survivor's story, and I don't know how to do that, but I would love to have someone as a guest to get their story out there to see what actually happened, because I don't believe the media is going to tell us everything. I believe that the death count that they are saying, I believe it is way higher. Or maybe that's all that they have right now. I don't know. I believe the death count is going to be in the thousands. I mean, there's one of the stories Bear was talking about with one of the Grindstone Ministries posts is that I believe there was 11 people in a house and only one of them survived because the water ended up taking the house, and this person was in a spot where it took most of the house, so it didn't take all of the house. And so could you imagine? Now that person, it's probably going to be a very long time before that story comes out. I don't know. I would love to get stories though to see what's actually going on firsthand, because my media here, I wake up in the morning and I watch the news, my local news, basically just to hear the weather. But this week, I have been listening to the news, really keeping my ear in tune with the news to see what they're saying about the hurricane before Milton. And all they're saying is that, cleanup efforts are happening with Tennessee and North Carolina. And they give a 1 minute, if that, segment. But then they're talking about Milton coming. This was, before today. They were talking about Milton coming, and they're giving a 2-3 minute segment on Milton coming. Okay, the people in Florida, they know it's all over their news. It doesn't need to be all over our news. I believe there needs to be more news coverage for North Carolina and Tennessee right now. Think about it. A 30-foot flood. And it's not just a 30-foot flood where water was rising. This was a raging river. You look at these videos and you see roads are gone. Landscape is it's a new landscape. The landscape got rearranged. This water was so powerful. And yes, in Florida, storm surge is powerful. And yes, there's going to be people but at the same time, there's got to be more news coverage in North Carolina and Tennessee. Where's it at? Why aren't they there? Because I don't know. I don't get it. And I don't like it. So I would love to get some real stories. And I do know, and Bear has said, there's not a whole lot that they can say right now because they don't want to hinder their efforts where they're at. They're in Jonesboro right now, which isn't very far from Asheville. So they're not very far from the border of North Carolina. But they have posted some videos where they've had to go around FEMA in order to get into North Carolina in order to get Starlinks in. They've had to do certain things in order to get into North Carolina. They cannot get into North Carolina right now. They also posted on one of their videos that somebody went to the FEMA distribution or the main camp or whatever, and they gave them the resources. They're like, here's our resources. Here's our FEMA distribution centers. The number one distribution center at the top of the list was Grindstone Ministries, but it didn't say Grindstone Ministries. It just had the address on there, and FEMA was saying it was theirs. None of the money is coming from Grindstone to FEMA. So I would love to get people's stories. And if you all could just share this so that people can know about Grindstone, I would love that. Like I said, I know I have a little itty bitty tiny podcast. I don't have the strongest following right now. I don't make any money off of this. This is just what's on my heart and trying to get it out to the world, trying to get it out to even just a few people. If I can help just one person by doing this, then I help one person. I'm not in this to, I mean, y'all's will be done. If this podcast gets to be super big, so be it. If it doesn't, so be it. It's not up to me, it's up to y'all. So, with that being said, y'all, thank you so much for listening this week. If I will, because this episode was a little, I don't know, I will see about getting an extra episode up this next week. We'll see what happens. The code is coming up, so I am super excited about that. If you follow the feasts. Oh, and the one thing with Grindstone, so knowing that where we come from, that Bear planted the seeds in us. So Grindstone is a whole Bible believer. So if you do plan on going and helping, they follow the Leviticus 11 in the Bible. They follow the biblical diet. So keep that in mind. If you don't follow that way, but you do want to go help, it's not a bad way, not at all. Just keep that in mind. And I mean, don't be bringing anyways, they can let you know. All the information is on grindstoneministries.com. So shalom, y'all. Have a blessed Sabbath if that's the way you follow. If not, have a blessed weekend. Thank you so much for listening to me every 2 weeks. I will try and post another episode. We'll see what comes on my heart, because that's how all these episodes are posted, is what comes on my heart. I don't have anything scripted. I don't have anything wrote down. I don't have any bullet points anywhere around me. What's on my heart is what comes out. So, and that's how I would love for my interviews to go as well. So if you would like to be interviewed, let me know. You can, right before the description in the Spotify link. I don't know about Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that I have this, but on Spotify, there's a send us a text. And so you can send us a text. If I'm going to put the links for Grindstone in the description, if you have trouble with those, then click on send us a text and I can help you out and get you the link in case it's not working. So, or if you just want to say hi, let me know how you like this. I would love to hear from you all. So again, shalom, y'all. Thanks for listening.